Are going around. Do we have any need for a non-public session to start? We don't? Okay. Opening public comment? Ms. Dole? Yep, I see the red light.
You're on. It's supposed to be green?
Red just means it's on.
Oh, okay. All right. Ginger Dole. Sort of a continuation of my comments at the last meeting regarding outsourcing of the cafeteria program. I've done some thinking about this, and I'm still struggling trying to understand how this move is going to save the district money. As I recall, the past few years, the school board has been, I don't know, for lack of a better word, subsidizing, transferring over somewhere in the vicinity of $25,000 to $30,000 a year. Listening to the presentation that was made at the last meeting, there was going to be, they were anticipating $170,000 in revenue. Currently, we're bringing in somewhere around 108, 110, somewhere in that vicinity. So I'd like to know if anyone has thought about or can explain how that remaining $62,000 is going to be made up. I know that lunch prices, as I understand it, can only be raised like 10 cents a year, so that doesn't seem to be able to do it. Additionally, right now, all of the paperwork that has to be done for the free and reduced lunches is done by a current staff member, so that's going to have to be outsourced, if you will. Someone is going to have to do that work, and there's going to be an additional wage for that. I'm guessing $8,000, maybe 10. Who knows how much it'll be, because who knows how long it'll take. Between the $62,000 in revenue shortfall that I haven't heard anything about how that's going to be made up or who's going to pay for that, plus the additional labor charge that the district has to pay to be able to process the paperwork. It just seems to me that $75,000, $80,000 is a lot more of a loss than $25,000 or $30,000 that you're currently subsidizing the program with. So if at some point these questions can be clarified, I'd really appreciate it. I did make out a handout so I can give you my numbers just so you can refer to them if you choose.
I think there's a couple of copies.
Yep. Thank you.
Don't get that nice. I think it's fine.
Thank you. Ginger, do you have the next one?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm concentrating on making sure that
That's awesome.
Yes.
Any other public comment?
Hi, I just wanted to compliment the board and Shane Wells for a really nice speech during graduation. I thought it was a very nice speech to get the community members together and just very well represented. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know. I get emails too. Any other public comment? Going. No? I think board members like to take this opportunity to comment? Yeah. Oh, you can.
You got a microphone
You
right
can sit right there. No, you don't have to.
Sure?
Yeah.
It's up to you.
You can if you want. All right, cool, even better. I thought you had to go to the mic. Because they do it at the town meetings. They go to at the. Go. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I'm good. I'm going up front. Do whatever you want, Shane.
So, I don't feel like I want to sing or something right now. It's just kind of weird. So, I just want to talk about us as a school board and trying to represent the community. And I'm getting some feedback from a lot of people about how the school board is trying to communicate with the public, and that some school board members are not actually doing that in more of a negative way. And I just want to put out there that there's principles that people should live by, and it's called leadership, and that's spelled LDRSHP, stands for loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, and pride. And that's what I try to bring to the community, and that's what I think the school board should do as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment from board members? Okay, we will close the public comment period and move on to school board business. Minutes, approval of minutes comes up first.
Motion to approve the minutes from June 2nd.
Public minutes, right?
Public minutes.
Second.
Discussion. Corrections. Okay, go ahead.
Page 6, line 168. Mr. Jennifer said that around the state, there is a lot of angst between school boards, that line, school boards and superintendents, which came up during the superintendent's evaluation. It came up during the superintendent's evaluation seminar put on by the New Hampshire School Board Association. It did not come up at all during our superintendent's evaluation. So it needs seminar, the superintendent's evaluation seminar of the New Hampshire School Board. That's all I have.
Anything else? All right. All in favor of approving minutes?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. 4-0.
Motion to approve the non-public June 2nd, 2016.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed?
Motion to approve the public June 8th.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve the non-public June 8th.
Second.
Discussion for that? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
No. 4-0. Okay. That concludes our minutes. Marjorie, please.
My reports begin on page 22. The revenues have not changed in regards to what we're expecting in excess of revenues. So we're still looking to receive an extra $121,000 in revenues. The expenses are underspent by $529,000 right now, which is in contrast to last month, which was $566, and that is mostly due to approvals that have been made between the last two meetings. Basically, it comes down to $97,000 left in regular ed, $142 remaining in health insurance and non-public tuition and special ed transportation elementary with 52, in regular education high school with 86. In high school special education with $165,000. 34 in special ed high school transportation. Wasn't sure if there are any specific questions as we go through. can see the 121 due to the unanticipated revenue and 31 from cat aid.
Anybody have any questions for Marjorie about the business administrator's report?
I mean, they really haven't changed that much in the past few months. It's been pretty steady. I'm not aware of any major purchases at this point, anything wrong with the building that need to be done before the end of the year.
What's that? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Stay praying. Principal's report.
So the report was pretty substantial in the packet. Lots of great things happening. Our year ended today with Staff Professional Development Day. Students' last day was yesterday. It was fantastic. There's information here about graduation. It was wonderful. Lots of great awards were given out. Lots of students recognized. Everything else you can read in the packet. The DC trip was fantastic. That was the reason I wasn't at the last meeting. It was better than we could have ever expected, and it was an amazing experience for that class, so certainly something they will all remember. The one action item on the report that I wanted to ask the board support for was that we recently received a check from Follett School Solutions. It's a book buyback company for $340.06 in exchange for some old textbooks and other outdated reading materials from the primary grade classrooms. Ms. Lavella had found that resource as a source to be able to get some sort of revenue back for some of the books that we're replacing. And we can certainly now use that. They literally look at the books and they leave a check the day they come out, and then they come back for the books. So it's a pretty easy process. Our first check is the $340.06, and we wanted to just ask the board's support in being able to accept that check as unanticipated revenue.
So moved. Discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Moved and seconded. Tim and Rachel.
Thanks. And it's the tech update. It says update at meeting. I think there's some other technology items that we're going to talk about later, so I won't mention that part. But we finished our SBAC testing, we finished our NEWA testing, we finished all of those tests and got our end-of-year benchmarks. We can compare those then against the ones from the beginning of the year and look to make some reports over the summer and in the fall about the progress for this year. Certainly it was clear from all of those benchmarks that our interventions are working in a lot of areas. Our RTI was very successful in a lot of grades, and the data does show that. So we will certainly be looking forward to that. We don't have official SBAC scores yet, but that will be presented as soon as they become available. And that's good news from what I hear, so look forward to that report. And then my last message, I'm just going to read it from the report, since it's my last report in my last board meeting. It is with heartfelt thanks and appreciation to the students, families, staff, and community members of Northwood that I put the finishing touches on my final principal's report for the Northwood School Board as principal of Northwood School. Serving faithfully and enthusiastically as your K-8 building leader these past 2 years, it gives me great pleasure to say we have accomplished so much of which we can all be very proud. Though I have chosen to pursue a new pathway for myself, may the momentum and energy continue, and may you all strive together to support the success and achievement of each Northwood student. They are the future of this Northwood community, and each one must be nurtured to thrive, to be his and her best self. So thank you very much, Northwood.
Thank you. Yeah, and on behalf of the board, thank you for your last. Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm done.
I have a
That's
question
all
for you. On my phone, I programmed in Go Math. That went today too, for staff development.
Yes.
Okay, how did that go?
It went great. I mean, I didn't talk to a lot of people, but it was a thorough day, and 7 and 8 had pretty much nearly one-to-one instruction on the 7 and 8 next year's cycle, and the 4 to 6 had Go Math training the last professional development day. So each of those grades has been trained now at least once prior to the start of the new school year. And we had our Wonders training, our first big Wonders training for the new reading program was today as well. So K to 5 had a training, 2 to 5 was separate, K to 1 was separate. From what I hear, these guys were there. They got a lot out of it, and it's going to be an ongoing process to get people acclimated to the program and figure out what resources they're going to use. both programs are so comprehensive that you couldn't possibly do everything that the programs offer, but we are going to try to assess what's going to work best, what's going to make the most sense. There will be non-negotiables in both programs that are going to provide the consistency, and then different teachers can explore the different pieces, and part of the technology report is going to reflect the technology needs that are going to be present as we look to try to use as much technology from those resources as possible.
So Wendy, you have, there's a couple professional days scheduled for the beginning of the year. Do you anticipate us continuing on with the trainings on these, on Wonders and Go Math? Or?
Yeah, we should be. What I think we're going to do is look to the end of September and the beginning of October. We have one day at the very end of September on a Friday, and the next Friday in October. Michelle Cremoni and I were talking about looking at those days as a follow-up day for the math and or the reading, because that'll have given teachers a month's use of it with students. If we did something right in August, it would probably be premature to get the most out of it before using it fully with students. So the thought right now is to utilize one of those 2 days, probably the last day in September, for either one or both of those to continue looking at the professional development support.
Okay. Thanks.
Does anybody from staff want to talk about the Wonders program? What they thought about it?
We can, hold on, we should ask the board if they want to do that. Is this something you guys would be interested in hearing? No? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes? Yes? Okay.
Well, we just paid $96,000 for it, so.
I mean, I'll speak to it just because I was at the training today. So, the training, just getting all the materials, we got all the materials yesterday. So this is really our first dive in of the training. And it's very overwhelming to everybody at first. We received maybe 8 to 9 books yesterday, and the trainer just went through all of the pieces of it. And, you know, we're going to have to look now as a team, at each grade level team, to really dive into it. Like Wendy was saying, there's different pieces of it. So there's definitely the non-negotiables, but then there's definitely pieces that you can pick and choose. You know, it has all the components that our current program has, but that is now outdated. So the literature seems familiar to us in the format, but the assessments are a little bit more in-depth. That's going to move us forward closer to what SBAC looks like. So that's a little bit better in looking at this program. So that's my take on it. I'm not going to speak for the rest of my colleagues, but if they want to talk, they can. So.
Thank you. And when's the next time you guys going to be going over? September will be the next time you have training on it?
Yeah, and probably the end of September. I mean, the reading specialist, once we're looking at what the reading specialist is going to do, the reading specialist and our literacy consultant will be available to have ongoing support in the building and at our data meetings and talking about the use of the program. So there'll be a couple of people in-house that will be able to work with the staff members to look at the use of that program and how best to provide collaborative time so that staff members can be talking together and working together on how to use the components and what works best. And
I'm just a little confused, I guess, and maybe I'm just thinking of it too much. So you got this program, you got the materials, and you're going to start implementing it in September, but you're not having another training on it. Are you prepared to implement it before then?
I don't mind speaking. I know it sounds kind of funny to think that we're going to start using it and then get trained. All those years ago when we started Treasures, they did kind of the same format. You had the overview, you have the materials. I think all of us have our bags packed full of them for the summer. The best questions came from that first month of using it. So you've studied it all summer, you've been to your training, you think you know it, you start to do it, and that's when the list of, you know, the trainings that we went to in the first, they told us stuff. The training we went to a month into it, we asked the questions, and they were super specific to what we needed. So that was the best training that we had that month after it started. So it sounds odd not to be fully trained before you begin, but I think it's an effective model to make it work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else have questions for Wendy? Besides Shane?
I mean,
if you wanna meet.
it was a huge discussion here to approve $96,000 for this program. I just want to know what people think about it. We always talk about we need to get with the teachers to figure out what their side of it is, and we never do. So,
We're still working through the inventory too. There were hundreds of pieces that came in, and it took a long time to do the inventory. We're missing a lot of items from the inventory, so we're working with the company to ensure that if one box said it had this and we're missing 4 of these, that we get the 4 of these that were supposed to come according to the packing slip. And that process in itself has taken much longer than we expected, because we weren't expecting things to be missing. And there's a lot of things missing, so we're in the process of finding those items, figuring out where the shipments are, and making sure we get all those items into the building so that we can have everything accessible.
Karen, do you have something you want to say?
Sure, I do. I'm really excited for the reading program, and I just want to say to the testimony of the staff, you know what, Mr. Wells, you're right. To leave tomorrow for the first day of summer and then not show up again, but you have a dedicated staff. Yeah, you couldn't do this without all the hours during the summer to look at all the different components. And I'm glad the technology piece is coming, because, wow, the presenter today was saying how many digital components are also for the reading lenders and for parents. But again, just a testimony to the staff of there's going to be a lot of hours during summertime, our summer, that we are committed to bring forth the best program the reading program will take. So.
Thank you. Thanks. Anything else for Wendy? I would just have one question, I guess, since it's potentially your last school board meeting here. What advice do you have for us going forward? What can we do next year to improve things moving forward? I know it's a loaded question, but anything you could.
How much time do you want to spend here?
Very brief. Very brief. What should we be focusing on next year? Let's start with that.
I think you should be focusing on the students. I really think you need to look long and hard at what you're doing to provide learning opportunities for students and to strengthen what they are experiencing in this building. And if it means looking at your communication pathways and ensuring that they go in both directions and that they are a positive source of information both out of the building as well as into the building and out to the bigger community, I think there's a lot to be said for advocating for this building and consistently remaining positive about the way you do that. There's a lot of collaboration and a lot of people with whom this building could collaborate. The visibility piece is huge. I would encourage board members to be in this building, to be in these classes, to see the use of these programs, to see the cart being wheeled into a classroom because we need more computers, to see kids presenting that are in the RTI and beyond group because they're overachieving at their grade level. People have been asking me, when is the board going to come into the building? When can we see them and how can we access them? The board comments a lot on things about what happens in the school and things about the way people interact and make decisions and look at data. And one of the big missing pieces in that conversation is the board's access to those answers. You would see those answers if you come into the building. You would see what people are doing and what people are doing with and what people are doing without. And I would encourage you to maintain a hugely visible presence. Events, classroom, I think that's going to be a great show of faith from the board to the staff, because they work like dogs in here. They work so hard and ask for what they need and need things that have merit. And I would like to ask the board's support with all of that, because if those communication pathways have too many hurdles, then people are just going to stop the race. They're not going to want to run anymore. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. I think we're done with the principal's report. We'll move on to the monthly enrollment report.
If you have any questions, let me know. Pretty straightforward.
I'd like to point out, I guess this is a good time to do it, that that I just did sign in 3 new Co-Brown students at this meeting, just on top of the 1 or 2 from last meeting, so
Total 5 in the last.
4 or 5, yeah, in the last month or so that are gonna be, might be 4. Maybe the other one might have been an 8th grader, now that I think about it. So, just trying to keep everybody up to date with that.
Now, were those recent kids that were enrolled in here 8th grade or just
No.
straight there, graduated from another school?
Yep.
Because we did get a lot of new 8th
Moving
Looks
from
like we have
another
3 now.
district, moving from another district,
I think
and
that's all 3 of those moving from the.
all 3 of these are from another district.
Okay.
So I do see in our report that we have 3 out in Northwood as well, so.
That was my
That's
question,
the-
how many have left?
Yeah.
Because I know of 2 that have
That's
left.
the date.
Oh, that's the date, 3/29?
3/29, there was 1 student that left Northwood in grade 9 on 3/29.
Why is it in this?
Let's go, Browns.
Yeah,
There was-
I mean, they're gonna leave it in this thing for all year.
No, they updated monthly. Quarterly.
Okay, quarterly, okay,
Tuition bill.
quarterly, okay. Thank you. That's what I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to policies. I believe these are these
You
the
had-
second readings of these?
No, you had sent them back to be reviewed by the business administrator, and you had a question about personnel records.
Okay, so they're coming back for the
I
first
believe
reading.
they're first readings. I wasn't at that meeting, but I put them back on for first reading because you wanted them to be reviewed.
Okay. So I think,
So if you,
yeah, go ahead.
do you mind if I talk for a
Please
minute?
do.
I think DJB, DKA, and GCG are pretty straightforward. I believe there was a question on GBJ-R, enumeration number 5. A list employees and their addresses and their salaries shall be tendered to any citizen upon request with RSA 91A. And I believe there was a question about the addresses. If you look on page 53, there is the legal precedents that were set that actually support the policy. It was an outgrowth of the Timberland Regional Education Association versus Crompton in like the early 70s. And the court-supported order that the school district administrator supply educational association representing striking teachers with names and address of substitute teachers hiring during the strike was proper. And then we've got a little tie with FERPA that really doesn't apply but has to do with student names and the fact that it would be hard to argue that giving employee addresses would be an invasion of privacy.
Because we have to give out student.
Right.
addresses as
Because you have
well.
to get out directory information under FERPA for kids, so.
Oh,
So,
I disagree with this, but if it's there, it's there. It seems, doesn't seem right to me. but-
it is rather a little uncomfortable for me also,
Yeah.
because I'm an employee. right?
Personal records?
GB, yeah, J-R.
So would the board like to move all these to second reading for our next meeting, or do you want to go through them one by one? And up to you guys. We've already looked at them once, I'm happy with them the way they are, so I wouldn't mind just,
I don't have a problem with them. I just, starting with DJB, I mean, that's another policy that we really don't follow. The second line, the school board declares its intention to purchase competitively without prejudice, seek maximum education value for every dollar spent. Big discussion in the school this week was we're buying Kleenex, 3-something a box from W.D. Mason or whatever it is, and you can go many places and get the same box of Kleenex for $1 something. I mean, we really have not, probably will not, but absolutely should look at a lot of this, the way we're purchasing. The other thing is the last line, I've been here 5 years, never received a copy. I knew about it. A copy of this policy will be provided to staff members. I don't think that's done. But that's there's nothing wrong with the policy. So it would be lovely to follow it.
any other comments or questions on the policy stuff? Okay, so I think we're getting in for a second reading. In 2 weeks, if we have time on the agenda, we'll look at it. I assume we will have time. If we don't. Hmm? Do we need a, do you want us to vote to bring it back for a second?
Yeah, you have to move it, yeah.
Okay. Would someone like to move the policies so that we can bring it back
For a second reading?
Yeah.
Yeah. Move the policies for a second reading?
Second.
Second. All right, any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All nothing? Superintendent's report? Please, Mr.
First, the beginning of the personnel report on page 54 to 74. If you want to take a look at that for a minute while I pass the rest of this, do you mind passing this out? So if you'd like to deal with page 54 and to start with, you have a resignation. The resignation letter is behind the personnel report. You'd like to take a look at it?
He's been here a long time, hasn't he? I have the name wrong. The one that's been here, he's been here for quite a while, hasn't he?
Mr. Pierce.
Mr. Pierce, or is he a new one? Okay,
No, we
Mr.
just hired him this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so
He was
that's
the one
the
that
other
came from Co-Brown with all the experience
Yeah.
from Co-Brown.
one. Well, we don't need a vote on his accepting his resignation, do we?
Do, I believe.
Okay. Anybody like
Thank
to-
you for the nod.
Most of the informational, usually the informational stuff we don't.
Yep.
Motion to accept the resignation of Wilbert Pierce with regret.
So I'm not seeing that.
Any discussion? Where is that?
It's in the packet.
It's in the packet, okay.
Yeah.
So we don't have to totally.
This is on page 55.
54 and 55.
The one that I handed out was more that happened since the packet went
All right,
out.
I'll be going to that one in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Four, nothing.
And then
Second. Yeah, sorry.
Below that are your extended school year nominations.
Can you explain to me what that is?
Extended school year.
Yeah.
So for students with disabilities, if they hit a regression standard in a conversation with the IEP team, the IEP team determines that they need summer services to regression or to provide FAPE, or for emerging breakthrough skills such as learning to read. A kid, let's say at the end of school, a student has finally acquired the skills where he's beginning to read, the team could determine ESY services to continue that breakthrough. So it's all based on a set of federal standards. And so the teams deliberate each year. And then from there, we have a extended school year budget in your budget lines. And then we draw off of that to fill the positions to provide the services.
Okay.
This is 3 weeks or 4? Math doesn't work either way.
July 5th through 28th.
Yeah, it's a building level question. I have 4 different programs running, so keeping the dates. So it's 4, is it 4 weeks, 3 days a week?
Monday through Thursday.
4 days a week.
Four days a week.
And have you figured out what the cost of it is? Do we have the budget for it? I'm just asking, it looks more than I was used to, but maybe I'm wrong.
It's a building level function. They figure out the FICA and all the retirement and come up and use the budget to do that.
Has the building level function been figured out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ms. Cremoni's in charge of the summer school program, and
So we don't have an answer. Okay, thank you.
the answer is yes. We use the budget, and we hire accordingly.
Can I get a motion for accepting these nominations? Either one at a time or all together, I suppose.
Now, it's all of these, or are we just doing the summer school people?
It's all summer.
It's all
It's
summer.
all summer.
Okay. All right, so motion to approve the nominations.
Second.
Any further discussion?
So, yeah, I'm still struggling with the time. The neck tutors aren't going clear through the 28th, they're only going to the 11th?
Correct.
No, they're going beyond the 28th.
They go
of
1
July.
week longer.
They're
Okay.
going 6 weeks.
Yes.
I see. Okay, no more questions.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. Passes. You have additional ones?
Yep. And then I passed out another personnel report dated June 16, 2016. Or actually, Mrs. Whitmore passed it out for me.
What do I got? Oh, yeah.
Didn't we just hire that guy?
Who's that?
Custodian? Isn't
Oh,
that the one that
probably.
we just hired? No, it's a different one?
Yeah, William Ballou, yeah, we just hired him recently.
Yeah.
We hired him this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the younger custodian
Mm-hmm.
Go through 'em.
who found another job
At Coburn.
Oh,
and decided to leave.
Is that normal? To go through custodians like that?
I wouldn't call it
After
normal,
just a
maybe
few
typical.
months?
I think it's hard for Mr. Tom to keep those positions filled.
It's the rate that we hire him at. It's real low. You get experience working in a school, and then you put that on your resume, and you go somewhere else that pays you $5 more an hour.
In a nutshell.
So why do we pay so low?
It's a negotiated
It's in the
rate.
contract.
It's in the contract.
Something maybe we could try to address at contract time for.
I think it would be a
next year.
wise decision to address some of those things during negotiations.
We get a motion to accept resignations.
A motion to accept the resignations as stated in the personnel report.
Second. Any discussion on these?
So, just yes, Mrs. Rush.
So I anticipate we've posted for these positions.
Well, those can't be posted until the
Until
resignations are,
Okay,
unless we post them as anticipated.
okay.
So
we
these
haven't
two
done-
positions.
They just came through.
Right.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah,
We
and
should
actually,
state
you
them
might
for the
want to
record.
consider,
We will.
I mean, if I can,
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to amend your motion, Shane, to include the names?
Sure. Amend the motion to accept the resignation of Rebecca Rush.
With regret.
Yes, with regret. Donna Turco, the same. William Ballou, good luck at Co-Brown. And that's it. That's it.
So, okay.
Any discussion?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resignations have been accepted.
then I'll nominate Ronald Goodall for the crossing guard, $15 per hour, 1 hour per day.
That's the same guy, right?
Yes.
Motion to accept Ronald Goodall, crossing guard.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is that it for personnel?
Let me just double check, but I believe it is.
There's one more page in there. Is that for non-public?
I believe that's for,
Actually, I have it
JI.
I have it further down the list.
So I anticipate we will be posting these openings very soon. Can we move on then?
Yep.
Personnel
Math
done?
program.
Math program update?
Do you mind?
Six.
So the first document that I passed out is a letter is from Ms. Cronin that was requested from the superintendent for the board's review. And then the second is a list of potential technology purchases ranked from the recommended to second to sixth choice and then not recommended for your review. And I believe Mr. Robert is sitting in the audience if you have any questions.
I do. If the board will let Mr. Roberts speak on behalf of just to go over the recommended options, just to get your side of it.
Did you guys hear from Mr. Robert on this?
I'd like to know the
It'd be useful.
differences.
I think it'd be useful as well. Put away your toys.
They'd like to talk to you.
That's a hot seat. So, our question is, just, if you could just explain this and go over the recommended options.
Sure. Based on the concern or the programs that are involved, now there's two programs involved, basically, Go Math program as well as Wonders reading program, that being able to use the program effectively from using nothing to having the most of everything you could want. The programs are designed to function as is coming out of the box. However, there are a lot more tools and advantages that go along with it based on how well technology is established in your classroom, let's say. So when the teachers, I don't want to put her on the spot, but Ms. Cronin was one of them that looked into it pretty deeply, what could be done in the classroom with basically more equipment. And the concern was brought up that we're paying a lot of money for this program. It would be nice to have more tools that went along with it to make it a little more advantageous in the classroom. So I was asked what we could do in the classroom from nothing to what the best case scenario would be to be able to utilize technology to make these programs work more effectively daily when they're used. So what you see on the chart, hopefully, is, if I didn't mess it up, I don't think I did. And I wasn't given any I wasn't given any budget numbers. So I had nothing to go by of what to do. So I gave, Dr. Godomsky asked me for the best case scenario, so I basically gave you a 1-to-1 computer ratio for those students using equipment that would function at the highest level or highest usage level we could get, using it with the program and using it with other tools that might, not tools, but other uses in the classroom. So I put that at the top of the list as a recommended option because that would be the best case scenario. A one-to-one, full-blown domain computer that could do this and all kinds of other stuff in the classroom. Based on an average student count that we used, based on what's been happening lately. As you go down the list, you see other options that I feasibly thought could work as you went down. Go anywhere from sharing carts to sharing carts per grade, as well as you could see by column B, either one type of computer or a slightly less of a computer. Basically, Google Chromebook basically is what it is, which is, sorry, what's that?
What's the difference between a netbook and a Chromebook?
Netbook is the new term now for a small computer. Some people even call those on the behind you netbooks. They're notebooks, laptops. They're a full functioning domain access computer that can go and get network drives and print to any printer in the building, get on the internet and so forth.
And a Chromebook can't do that?
No, not like these kind of. Chromebook can go out, get on the internet, use Google Apps, 100% active, do anything you want to do on Google Apps. It's the other things you might want to do, like playing around with PDF files. You get a PDF file from a program like this, try to do something with it, it doesn't work. So, or it doesn't work as well. I won't get into too deep into it. It's less functioning basically, but it's also a lot cheaper. So that's why you see the price differences on here. Other schools use them. It's just a second step down if you are limited in budget. So if you want to spend a little less money and you have a more specific use, they do really well. If you want to do more with it, you're better off with a full computer. Even if you only do one function with that one computer for 1 year, the next year if you want to do something else, that option's available to you. If you use a Chromebook, you're going to be able to do with it what you can do with that other box. So that's why we put that on there. It's still a feasible option. But basically when you go down the list, I kind of tell you on the left side kind of the plan of what we were going to do. Column B is what type of computer, and then how much they cost, how many we're getting, how many carts we need to store all these units. And carts, unfortunately, I spent a lot of time looking at carts. I really was surprised I couldn't get cheaper unless I bought one of those. What do they call those things that you put together in your house for your TV or whatever? Those cardboard ones, whatever. Long story behind that. We actually tried that once years ago here, and the cart lasted 3 or 4 years and fell apart. So they're very expensive, about $1,000 roughly to get anything decent for charging carts. So that stays pretty consistent all the way down the list. And it goes all the way down to, I put a not recommended option. I put the information there so you could see what bare bones would be, but quite frankly, if I'm going to buy one cart, I'd rather do other technology advances in the classroom than get a cart. I'd rather get something that's going to take care of a grade, take care of a bunch of classrooms, and kind of step us forward as we move forward every year after this. One cart would actually be beneficial to an extent, but it would cause a lot of issues as well, scheduling issues and stuff like that we just don't want to deal with. I'd rather do other things with technology right now.
So as of now, what do we have? A couple carts?
We have one cart that is shared in the building right now. The 6th through 8th grade have their own. So 6th through 8 have their own. The rest of the school, K through 5, uses one cart. The same computers that 6 through 8 use, I just put them in a cart. And they share that. And then we also have about 75 shared iPads in the building, plus a few other scattered ones for specific programs. We have about 120 iPads in the building.
120, how many for netbooks?
Sorry, I couldn't.
How many netbooks?
How many netbooks?
Yeah, K through 5.
K through 5?
Yeah.
24.
24. So you share 24 netbooks.
Yes.
And 120 iPads.
Yes, roughly, yes. About 75 are shared all the time. The other ones are in certain grades, certain classrooms. And then we also have another 25, 30-ish floating laptops that are about 5 or 6 years old that are kind of not really off our inventory, but we use them in offset different programs. But they're not shared for any specific programs. We don't wheel those into classrooms and do anything.
What type of netbook would you buy?
Right now, what type? It's an Intel-based.
What company or what brand?
I don't. Whatever's giving me the best deal at that time. Right now, actually, I'm on the fence right now between a couple of companies. Basically, it's an HP unit I'm looking at right now.
All right, because it would come to $250 a laptop.
Yes, right now that's the price as of today. Best price I can get today.
And what operating system would you be
10.
using? 10.
Pro.
Yep. And does that include Microsoft?
Does not include Office. We have a site license for that.
Do you have a
But we don't, the kids aren't really using that
Using that?
now. We're using Google Apps for everything now.
Google Apps for that grade level?
So I couldn't hit it.
That Google Apps for that grade level? You wouldn't have to use spec
We're
software?
pushing, that's another whole discussion we could have about, which I'll be giving you probably in 2 weeks when I give you my report for that, but we're pushing Google Apps down toward the 3rd grade level.
Policies over 5,000.
Thank you.
How many additional classrooms are we trying to service? With the-
6.
So 6 additional classrooms,
6 classrooms.
From today.
Between the sharing and the one-to-one, everything is for 6 classrooms, 3 fourth and 3 fifth.
Now, is it feasible that things can be shared? I mean, math will be at a different time in different classrooms too, right? So moving things back and forth.
One thing we didn't write on here, this was just equipment, but basically as you go down the list, it's, the less computers you have, the more scheduling issues you're gonna have. You have to share back and forth.
And they do have the same subjects at the same time in the grade levels. So
In the
they're
grade
doing
level.
math at the same time.
That was a
Fifth
big
grade's doing
concern.
math at the same time.
But third grade and
grade's
fourth
doing
grade
math
wouldn't be
at the same
doing
time.
math at the same time as each other, right? I'm just wondering, so it's like, the systems could be used for third grade from 8 to 10 o'clock or whatever, and then for fourth grade later in the day or something. that right?
Potentially, but not easily. Because
Why?
there's going to be overlap with the times that 3rd grade's doing math and 4th grade's doing math or 2nd grade's doing math.
The other thing to consider is, as of today, we're looking at reading doing the exact same thing now, which wasn't the case when I initially came up with this. So now reading's involved now, which actually does the same or more than the Go Math program does. Well, I shouldn't say that. I haven't looked at the Wonders as much as their Go Math. So, but they're pretty much the same kind of stuff. It's all digital interactive now, and that's what the state's pushing for. And you get more out of it that way instead of looking at a textbook.
The type of netbook that you would buy, when would it be obsolete?
When? Right now we plan on a 3-year rollover. Realistically, for a laptop there's no real wear out for software, but it's the durability of the equipment. You're looking at, if you take a laptop, you can probably get 4 or 5 years out of it, a student. Let's be realistic, about 3. They drop them, they slip them around. Even the ones that stay here versus, let's say, the 8th grade that takes them home, that whole thing, you get more wear and tear. So I plan on 3 years. Laptops tend to not last as long as desktops because they just get hot. Connections come loose. About 3 years, you can almost guarantee a 3-year haul with a laptop one way or the other. After that, it's gravy. Whatever else you can get out of it is good.
How long have you had these 24 netbooks?
We just finished our 2nd year. Those ones I'm actually planning on 4 years. I have to. I just need to do that. Budgetary reasons. Those are actually performing very well. I'm getting off track a little bit. The 6th grades are they're doing real well. The newer we get, the better they're performing.
Can I say that?
Either you or me.
Yeah, so, I mean, with these numbers, we do need to, we can decide what we want to do, but we are gonna have to go out to bid for this, because the numbers, do an RFP even for this.
I'm not, what are you saying?
The numbers are above our cutoff for our policy, so we need to have some bids.
Yeah, so, I mean, we went out and bought a car, and now we find out we need an engine. When we buy the engine, we're gonna find out we need tires, and we buy the tires, and then we're gonna need a transmission. I just don't, this is such a sad thing, that when we purchase Go Math, or when we purchase the reading program, we weren't told we needed all of this. And now at this late date, there is no way that you could legally purchase this, nor would I vote for it in the first place, and get it into this year's money. And I don't believe we have the money in next year's. You'd certainly have to make some things. But last but not least, this is not the way to do things. I mean, if we were gonna need to spend $35,000 on computers, that should have been told to us. I have a right to know that going into buying a reading program or additional Go Math stuff. I have a right to know that as a school board member, not being told, what are we, 2 weeks from the end of the year? That really, really bothers me. And it's just the way we do things around here, and it's just wrong.
So just to address that point, the goal initially 2 years ago was a K-8 seamless math program. So we're moving forward on a goal that was very clearly stated by this board to have a K-8 seamless math program. We're going into the second year. After next year, we'll be moving into the third year, and we'll be K-8 seamless math, which I think, Mr. Janderbauer, was your goal all along, which we will achieve, and we're halfway
But
there
just at once.
in 2 years.
So be honest there.
So honestly, you need to buy the program and find out how you're going to use the program. There was no possible way we were going to be able to commit to the entire program and a 1-to-1 ratio for every student. The program, as Mr. Roberts says, out of the box is functional. It is a functional
There was never
program.
any indication to us in any way that we were going to have to buy additional equipment for the program. We were told that we would be buying Go Math program certain years at a time until we had it complete. But there was no indication that beyond the cost of the Go Math that we would need a lot of other stuff.
Can I finish, please?
Sure.
So we don't need it. It's not required. We can still function with the program to a certain degree. But the more intense the programs get, the more digitally active the students get. We do have access to a computer lab. We do have access to the computers in the library. We do have access that classrooms can use with devices we have. It's not optimal. It absolutely is not optimal. It's not the best fit for every student, because when you're shown that the capabilities of the program are so expansive, these teachers want to use all of that stuff, and they want to be able, in a moment's notice, to be working on a piece of the program and think, oh, this ancillary item would be really great right now because the kids have asked 6 questions about this topic. Let's open the tutorial. Guys, let's get out the computers and go to the tutorial. It's not something that they can predict would be utilized every single day, but they want to be able to have access to it. And it's definitely a direction that we should be moving, but getting the program in place was essential to begin with, and it's part of a process. No one's trying not to be transparent. No one's trying to keep anything from anybody. When we did the presentation on Go Math, it was very clear that one of the reasons that we recommended Go Math was the digital technology that it offered to us. The digital technology is the wave of the 21st century learner. They all need to be digitally active. We're going to be doing away with textbooks completely in a few years. So yes, the computer enhancements are going to be something we need, and we do need to look at it. But it's not something that would have been required, and it's not something that we could have asked you for $180,000 for a new math program in year 2. You wouldn't have even considered it. At least now, I'm very proud to say, we have the program in place, and we're going to look to get the technology in whatever pieces we can, in whatever way this district will support. But I'm happy that we at least have the program, because if we came to you and said we want a new math program and it's going to cost $180,000, you would have said, nope, next item, without a doubt. So I do wish you would listen to what we're presenting, and I do wish you would come in and see what we're able to do and what we're not able to do. Because the information that you're going to have access to if you come in and witness the classes, I think is going to inform your decisions. It shouldn't be arbitrary, and it shouldn't be something that anyone's accused of being uncertain about or unclear about.
Filtered and manipulative would be the 2 I would use. So I disagree with you. Are you done? I disagree with you on every single point you made.
Because you
Fantastic.
Yes. So
Because you do it, because that's all you do.
well, that's fine,
Right, no.
and I have a right to.
Guys, knock it off.
Yeah, so,
Knock it off. No, we're done.
first-
We're done with
first
that.
and
No,
foremost-
no. We're not going to be argumentative.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Roberts, I'd like to ask you one more question.
Sure.
Do we have, is this in the technology budget now?
None of this is part of any budget. I was
So it's not
asked
the
to
budget?
give information on what I think, based on no budget figures, what would help the program. That's all I was asked. I have plans 2, 3, 4 years down the line to get to the point that we have as close to 1-to-1 as we can get, based on budget issues, what's going on in the classrooms. It's a process. I was asked to put this together to help in what I could do, what not I could do, but what could be done to enhance the program.
So none of this would be in any items that were proposed for next year?
I'm putting together a budget to get another
For
next
following
year.
year's
Yeah,
budget,
following
but
year.
not
Yes.
like
No.
the budget coming up?
No.
So this would be on top of anything there?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like, if you have any questions, it's your turn, because you haven't had a chance to talk yet.
Taking it all in right now,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Can I address the bid?
Yes, please do address the bid.
Well, came across my desk this morning, too. I can tell you that we can get Steve together with Linda Osborne tomorrow and get an RFP and a bid out and the prices back from multiple companies by probably Tuesday afternoon, and a purchase order cut and in the system by 6:30. So we can make that happen if we need to.
With such a short window, though, I'm not sure how many bids
Right.
we will get. I mean, you're talking a little bit over a week to get a bid.
Yeah, that
and to
makes-
get the purchase done before 6:30.
That makes me
So-
uncomfortable.
I'm just
I mean, if
letting
it
you know.
isn't, if it isn't done, it doesn't happen.
This wasn't in
Yeah.
the original wish list per se either.
No.
So to just drop this in our laps the last day of school is a
Correct.
a
Absolutely.
little surprising.
No, I mean,
Not.
yeah, you know,
Well,
I totally agree.
I don't know what
I'm
I
not
think
gonna
about
argue
it
with
yet
that. I
because
was
you
surprised.
just gave it to us. We haven't talked about this at all, so
Yeah.
I don't know what to think yet.
I think it's surprising too, but I think they realized once they got the program, because that they needed this, it would be better to initiate the program and have the program run more functional if they had these laptops.
Yes. Are we all done with Steve, by the way? I think we got all the questions. You can sit down, please.
Thanks.
Sorry, go ahead, Shane.
So that's I know it's dropped on our lap saying, hey, you know, this is what they need to be more functional, is what they're asking. They're not saying we have to purchase it, because what Wendy just said, but they said if we want optimal satisfaction, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but functionality for this program, we need this. And I'm all for it. It is a tech savvy world, and I've been in the school and worked with these laptops and worked and tried to, and Steve could, when I try to get their programs, DVDs don't even work. And they're lacking technology.
I agree with you that we are gonna need this stuff. I just don't, myself personally, I think it makes sense to buy it next year. I mean,
I'm fine with that.
It's next year's.
It needs to be budgeted for. You can't just decide in
Right.
one day that this is
Right.
what you need. I mean,
That's my feeling as well, yeah. I mean, I don't mind starting the process now, though. I mean,
I would
make a choice as to where we want to go with
Make
it.
the recommendation of putting an RFP out
Yep.
there to see what it would cost.
But I wouldn't be comfortable necessarily forcing it through this year. I mean, in the short period of time. That doesn't sit well with me either, I guess. Although I do believe we need the stuff.
So if you do want to get some bid prices for next year, which option does the board want us to go out to bid on?
can we not do this in phases? I mean, it doesn't need to be all done in 1 year. I'm looking for like the smallest possible tax burden. I mean,
Well, and it may also be what can we find in the budget for next year, right? I mean, if this is coming out of next year's budget, what kind of
Are
money?
we talking about the 16, 17 year?
Yeah, yes,
And you're under a deep.
right. Like if we found money for the crossing guard and for the potentially curriculum director, can we find money for technology as well?
but this isn't in the budget that we have.
No, it's
None
not.
of
It's
this
not. It
is.
would come out of other
First time
lines.
it's ever been mentioned.
Right.
Correct.
It would be coming out of
Out of
other
the blue.
lines, so it would be. We'd have
Could
to
you
cut
get
other things in
RFPs
order
for
to
all
put
these
this in.
recommendations?
Well,
Like 120, 96, 48?
Nothing better to do. I'm joking.
I'm not sure, Shane. I don't know the easiest way to do that. We've done it before where we've asked for 2 or 3 different options, but that's a lot for one vendor, I think, to do. Because, and it's not that you're just looking at netbooks, you're looking at netbooks and Chromebooks. Some vendors only do one or the other. Not all of them do both.
My other concern is that I've had other experiences where boards, not necessarily this board, go out to bid on things and then don't follow through on it, and then the next year go out to bid on the same thing with the same companies and don't follow through on it, and then the next thing you know, you're not getting any bids.
Right.
So you
I
burnt
agree
your
with that.
companies out.
I'm just wondering if we can't do this in like a 3-year plan, like 50, 50, and 50 or something like that.
What I'm wondering is, would it make better sense if you're saying to possibly make these purchases out of next year, even though it's a default budget, would it be a betterly informed decision if the board had a look at the tech plan and the replacement schedules and the I mean, Mr. Robert, could I work with you on helping the board understand the overall tech plan in the building and replacement schedules, and so they can make an informed decision? Can you hear me? Watch this. Mr. Robert, can you call me tomorrow? Great.
So
There is a technology plan. I'm sure there's some sort of 3-year
So let me do
or
some work
5-year
with that one.
plan.
But this
I've
stuff,
never seen
but this
it.
stuff isn't in it. I don't think.
This stuff isn't in it,
don't
but
think
it
so.
could be in it
Right.
if
Well,
we
what
had
you
made an
wanna be,
updated
what you
one.
really want to be cognizant of, if you have a 3-year replacement schedule and you have X number of machines in the building that are going to come up for replacement, how does adding choice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 potentially? How do you do that without causing a spike? It really is a planning and vision thing.
Yep.
So
I don't see
if the
planning
board
and vision
has-
in this
if the
request,
board,
though.
If the board has these concerns, then that makes the most sense is for the tech committee to come up with a presentation and we try to figure out a replacement schedule and a purchasing schedule, because I mean, it's true, you're going to have to increase technology within your building. How do you do that in a way that meets everybody's needs?
It needs to be done
Right.
responsibly.
Right. And it also needs to be, to consider the student, all the stakeholders.
A teacher brought this up at our last meeting.
And that's how the
And here we are, okay? And that teacher should have been given the opportunity, or should have spoke up a lot sooner. We are going to need a ton of computers in the next few years. There's no question in my mind that that's where we're going. And we need to look at that in total, and we need to budget it in total, and not have these things come out of the wild
I'm
and thrown
not-
at us.
I'm not arguing
Okay.
that, but I will say this. The teacher,
I'm not upset at the teacher
well,
at all.
I just want to defend the teacher in that she
get together and-
recognized
A problem.
a problem in curriculum implementation when she was considering implementing the curriculum that she's going to implement next year, and brought it to everybody's attention as soon as she could.
But
So
going
I
into a
think
default
that's-
budget with this dollar amount,
I'm not.
that's why I'm saying, could we do part of it next year,
Well,
part of it the following
can we-
year?
And what I'm saying
to get
is,
up to this number of
and my response to
120.
that is, I think we need to take a look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, could we take a look at that in 2 weeks? I mean, there's no rush, I guess, either. I think it's,
We got the whole summer.
right. I mean,
Sure.
let's
If
look
you're
at the
decide-
budget, let's look at the budget, let's
If
look
the
at the
board,
technology
if the
plan,
board is
right?
deciding not to take this out of this year's funds, then you have time.
Yeah.
You don't have a tremendous amount of time, because if you do decide to make some purchases, you're gonna want those in the school by the start of school, but you have time.
So I believe we have a technology update scheduled for our next meeting anyway, correct?
Yes.
Oh, we can hear you.
So that seems like that would be a good time to maybe go over this plan.
Right, so just come see me tomorrow and we'll update, and we'll figure out what to do, all right?
Also, in the meantime, it may be worth re-looking at the default budget to see what kind of money we can squeeze out of there towards this.
I'm getting a little cautious about that right now because this is the third time
Yeah, I
already
understand.
looking at next
Yep.
year's. And my only problem with that is, we do have people leaving. You're gonna be having new staff come in.
Yep.
I'm getting cautious right now about the health insurance rates. Yes, our rate did come in lower, but I don't know who's gonna be coming in over the summer. You still may have teachers, paras leaving over the summer, new people coming in, that may put your health insurance costs over.
So,
Or-
I mean,
It
so
may
if you,
put 'em
well,
under.
It could put them under.
if you come back and say, no, there's no room for it,
Right.
that's an answer.
Okay.
I'll
I
take
just-
that. I mean, it's,
I think what
It's
Marjorie is trying to
unfortunate,
say is,
right, it's
you're
true.
asking for a recommendation for a budget that's 6 days old the
Right.
next time you meet. And I think she's apprehensive about that, and I
'Cause
can
there's a lot- there's a lot
I
can
can
change.
understand
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, Shane.
My other comment is, we don't have money next year, and we have to search for it to get money. And we're gonna do a 3-year plan to, and that's the options that are out here, to get 50, 50, and 50. And I know it's not exactly your plan, because we haven't really looked at it, but we have money this year. We're not gonna have money next year, we might not have money next year. So if we got money, you know, and we've turned down a lot of things, and we got some great things, and I know we don't have a solid plan behind it, why we need 120, but it would be the full functionality of the program that we need. So I'm in favor of voting on this, and I know the board isn't, but I just want to put that out there that we have the money this year, we won't have it next year.
I understand. I agree with you that it's unfortunate that we might not have it next year, but I disagree with that. I don't think we should force it through at the same time.
Okay.
Anyone have anything else you want to say on this? No? So our plan, just to be clear, we will be looking over this in the technology presentation in 2 weeks on the 2nd. If we can get any numbers from the budget as to what everyone feels safe about, that would help. But if not, it's too early. It's too early. We're not in a rush.
The 2nd is our next meeting?
Next meeting, yes. I think
July
it's
2nd?
July 2nd.
That's a Saturday?
No, it's.
No? All right.
It's
Do I have it wrong?
7th.
7th.
I think.
7th, yes. So 7th.
You got it?
Yep.
Yeah, Saturday. Oh, yeah.
I also want to thank the teacher for bringing this forward to us. I mean, the information is good, but timing is unfortunate. Always good to know.
Next, I guess.
The next is, Ms. Kramer, do you have a town library?
Actually, I'm not your school group representative.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I'm just kind of like that.
You're the transition team?
So about a year ago, Linda came before the board to talk about a new program, or talk about a program that the town of Northwood, the library in particular, in conjunction with the school, would like to coordinate together, called 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten. This is a nonprofit foundation throughout the country. If you go on their website and look it up, there are hundreds of libraries here in New Hampshire that are participating. And it's meant to promote early literacy in children and families. And the real goal is to help that transition into kindergarten with some great pre-literacy skills coming on board. So when Linda first brought it forward to you, there was a soft rollout in the fall. There was a formal kickoff this January. And the first couple of students the first couple of pre-kindergartners have now finished their first 1,000 books, with the potential of maybe 8 more to finish by August. So the trustees of the library have a little request for the school board that Nicole will ask.
Yes. So the thought was, along with your support, that the kids who participated in the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten Challenge could be recognized by you in our library before school begins in August. And perhaps that there could be some certificate that the chairperson of the school board could sign, and the kids could be recognized in some type of like ceremony, if you all would be interested in doing that. There would be like, maybe we were gonna talk to Mrs. Moore and see if she would be interested in possibly reading a story. If not, Mrs. Gibson and I could certainly do that. Have some type of refreshments, and then the kids could be recognized at the start of the last meeting before school starts. I think it's August 16th.
This is pre-K doing this?
Yep, any child who has not already entered kindergarten.
Did we decide?
And so I think at the library there's actually a bulletin board of all the children who are participating. And so every time they read 100 books, I believe their name gets moved. They get to like a new level on whatever the bulletin board is. And then so the celebration, the culmination would be when they get to 1,000 books, then they would be recognized here. But I think the idea was also to recognize any child who has participated as well.
When's
Okay.
the next board meeting?
So only the kids who are entering kindergarten.
The ones that have finished their pre-K before that. There's 2 4-year-olds that have finished, or 2 or 3
Right.
4-year-olds, and then another one close, so I think it would be them. And then those that are coming to kindergarten, whether they done 1,000 books or not, but just recognize for them for participating and letting them come see the
The school library.
Because giving tours to new parents, this is what the kids love to see, walking in the library. It just impresses them more when they're about to come to kindergarten than anything.
You want to do this in August?
Yeah, I think the August 16th meeting right before school
So we
starts is what
do
we
have a
had.
meeting 18th, the August 18th is the
Oh,
school board meeting.
August
At least
18th.
that's what it says on here. So maybe, you're gonna say 5:30?
All right,
perhaps?
so 5:30 on the 18th. And I'll do the certificates, but you've got to come meet with me and tell me exactly.
Oh, well, yeah, we would give you the name.
Yeah, right.
Yes!
Because I'm not filling them out here.
No, we would get the names beforehand of the kids participating.
Right, and then what level and what, right? And then maybe, and then we can orient the parents too, because they'll be incoming parents, right?
Would the
Should I bring Kat and hat?
Okay.
I know a
The
very-
library trustees,
a
I
very
doesn't scratch.
tall town administrator with a cat and hat costume.
Well, there you go. So, there you go. You got it.
Awesome.
Sounds like a great idea, thank you.
All right, we'll keep you posted.
Thank you.
Thanks. Committee reports, any committee meetings? Do you guys have any? Right?
I haven't talked to Marjorie. She wasn't at our last meeting, but I assume that you're okay with having all the questions answered from the budget committee by the 20th. We're good
I'm
with
taking
that?
your Word document and I'm just
filling it in.
saved it and putting answers in bold underneath just so that they
Perfect.
stick out.
And that can be part of the report that you, wonderful.
Yep,
Wait,
that we send out.
Awesome.
Remember, I have a bunch of
Oh,
Sorry, I couldn't answer more of them.
No, that's okay.
Before we go further, I'm sorry, I cut off the
Yeah, we
superintendent's
had-
report. I guess he has more stuff to
Oh,
do. and
sorry,
I
We,
Scott.
wasn't right
we
there.
had to adjust some things this morning. I apologize for that.
Thank you, though.
Will that happen again?
It'll happen again. It's been that kind of day.
Brenda? Sorry.
Would you like to read this for the benefit of the?
Oh, actually, it's when Miss Daybrick
Miss
can read
Daybrick?
it.
Can you just read it for the benefit of
Oh,
everybody here?
Sure.
It's Mr. Sayers.
Yeah, sure. It's an email that I sent to Dr. Godomsky on behalf of Tom Sayers, our head custodian. Happy Tuesday. I'm writing to share my endorsement of Tom Sayers in support of his request to be able to carry over more of his unused vacation days to the 16-17 school year. This 15-16 year has been a very challenging one for the custodial staff since we have had consistent turnover throughout the entire year for various reasons. As much as Tom may have wanted to take more time for himself, he felt obligated to support the student staff and the building needs while training new staff regularly. He's an asset to this building, and having him here when others are not is extremely valuable. I hope that you can consider allowing him to carry over 10 additional days on top of his regular 10-day carryover allowance in lieu of losing those days. He plans to use those days during the first half of next year. We will benefit from him being here during these next couple weeks as we turn over rooms and teachers move around the building in preparation for the new year and a new building leader. Michelle and I are out at a conference June 28th to 30th. Thank you very much for your consideration of this request.
How many vacation days does he get a year? Do you know?
20, I think.
He caps it.
What was your question?
Does he get a year?
How many vacation days does he get a year?
20?
I mean, he's been here a
20
while, and
But they cap it at 90 instead of 150?
90
No, that's
days?
his sick.
no,
Are you talking about
I think
accrued?
it's
No, I
20
said
a year.
20 vacation, and
20
there's
a
a
year?
cap that's
Accruable.
been
20
changed,
a
the
year.
total number he
He's
has.
allowed to
And you can only
accrue.
carry over 10
He
per
can only
year.
carry over 10 for each year. And he attempted to use some. He filled out paperwork to use some, and then would figure out that somebody was out for some medical thing, or somebody was out for some major issue, and he would come in because there were at least 2 different weeks he tried to take, and then something happened with his staffing, and it was virtually impossible for him to leave, and he felt that he couldn't, and he chose not to. And now he would either be out for the entire rest of the year, or if he can carry over those 10 days, he's just looking to use them in the beginning of the year and spread them out, rather than be losing all of them right now when he could be helping address the building needs while this year ends and the new year begins.
So I personally don't have a problem with that on two conditions. One, that is, so 6 months is use it up by the end of January. That's what he says he'll do in the first half of the year. So he catches up by January. And two, that if for any reason he leaves, he can't use the carryover in any kind of a buyout.
You want to make a motion to that effect?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we approve the, allowing Tom to carry over an extra 10 days of vacation into the next year on condition that, one, he use it all up be on track by the end of January, and two, that in the case of his leaving it anyway, it can't be considered as part of a buyout.
Second.
Any further discussion on that? Seems reasonable to me.
It's reasonable.
You okay with that as far as those criteria?
It's my decision. As long
No,
as
no,
it's in the
I know. I
minutes,
mean,
we'll do it.
It's not going to be difficult for you to implement that, I guess is my question.
Oh, no, we'll see.
Yeah, it's not illegal to do, right?
It's not illegal to do, no. You're making an agreement.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now the logistics, on the other hand, but we'll see.
So you get all that?
The next thing I have to you is a parent request, and somewhere in my pile I have supporting policies that allows you to grant this if you wish to. I guess you can just take my word for that. I think you already know.
Hey, then, this wasn't on the agenda.
You're right. It wasn't this morning, though.
It wasn't on this morning.
Oh, this afternoon, my afternoon. And if you look, the reason is the date. It just came in.
Where's the date?
I don't know, but
There's no date.
it just came in. The board would like to know what we've done in the past with these requests. I'd be happy to let you know.
I have some idea, but why don't you recap for everybody's benefit?
I believe last year or the year before, when we granted a request based on a purchase and sales agreement, we gave them a, you must present us with the required residency paperwork by X date, or you're going to have to pay tuition or withdraw your child.
November 1st, I agree.
That is the day, isn't it?
Make a motion that we approve this and that it has to be finished, they have to be in Northwood by November 1st, or we will reconsider.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Thank you very much.
And then, the last thing I have,
Not done yet.
hey, I'm just doing the meeting. I didn't put it together.
5 minutes.
So what I just presented you is a letter from Pam Clark from Co-Creations of Per Potential. She also does some work for the state and has done worked in districts that I've worked in before. And Miss Young, your incoming principal, is asking for some mentorship, similar to what we've done for other building administrators. If you turn the letter over, Dr. Godomsky has made a recommendation for proposed services B, and has been able to locate that money in the budget for next year $1,945 out of principal salary, another $455 out of retirement, and $5,777 out of health insurance savings from principal to principal to cover the cost of that proposal.
What was the total number? The total number is
72,
7920?
no, 7260, option B,
Okay.
and he's located 8177.
So,
So this is something new.
We've never done it.
Did you have a mentor through the?
NHASP.
Yes, we have done it.
Say that again?
We have done it.
We've done something like this?
We've done
Not to this-
mentorships through NASP. This is just through,
A private company?
Through, well, yeah.
Presented to the school board and we paid for it like this? No way.
I mean, I'll check with Dr. Godomsky,
Yeah,
but
please.
I believe that you paid for
I have a pretty good
mentorship.
memory. I don't remember anything like this before.
You did. I had a mentor, and it was proposed, and it was approved and presented.
I-
It was half the cost of this, and it was through the National Association of Principals. I mean, the New Hampshire Association of School Principals.
Why don't we go through, why are we going through this person and not through what Wendy went through?
I believe the reason is I know that Dr. Clark has worked extensively with Ms. Young for the past 6 years in her role in another district, and they have a close relationship. That's,
Should be all set then.
so this is, what do we have money in our budget for mentorships?
you have an in-district mentor program that provides an in-district mentor to a new employee for $1,000 a year.
So would that money,
17,000 in that budget.
And there's 16th, right.
would that money be applied to this as well then? It could.
If you have any of it, it depends how many,
New teachers?
it depends how many new teachers you have under mentorship. You have $16,000 total budget, correct? Is that what it was?
17.
We went over
I have
this
right
year,
here.
I think.
It went over,
Yeah, we
right.
went
But
So-
this isn't coming out of that budget, this is coming from somewhere else, you just said.
Correct.
Because that's typically
Exactly.
used for teachers.
I see.
I didn't realize that.
That's
So
what-
the
that's
extra
what's in
money
the
you
budget.
found is actually coming from the principal's salary because of health plan and lower rate that she's coming in.
Correct.
Only
So
part of it is
technically,
coming from
we're
that, though.
paying,
No,
You said all of it?
I said there'll be $1,945 out of the principal's salary. I said there'll be $455 out of the FICA and retirement savings. And then in the conversion of health insurance plan, I'm not going to disclose the plan, but there'll be $5,777 in savings. For a total of $8,177 identified, and for option B, we need $7,260.
So, okay. So it all comes out of the office of the principal line?
Correct.
You went through a similar program?
No.
Yours was
Different type of program.
Find
Probably
it
the
helpful?
Less
mentorship.
formal.
Did you find it helpful?
Somewhat. Somewhat. My coach was not a current principal. I would have found it much more helpful had they paired me up with a current or active principal. That was not the case for me, and that was problematic, I believe.
so this is something we don't have to vote on today. Because it's not, we're using.
Right, you can just think about this for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this person a principal? It doesn't
excuse me?
say. Is she a principal? This Pamela
Dr. Clark was a very successful principal at Runlet Middle School in Concord for years. I would be happy to email her tomorrow and get a resume to put back and then to bring to the next agenda, if that would be helpful.
I would just like to know what this entails. What is included in these sessions? What are they all about? I'm just curious.
So,
So is that a yes on the resume and then a
just in the
description?
resume, we'll
Yeah,
And
just,
put it on
I
the
wouldn't
back
even
burner.
say resume, I just a plan of what is to be presented and
Yeah,
gone
what
over
was-
in these sessions. I'm just curious what the substance is.
I'm all about mentorship.
Yeah, I just want to know what it's
Everybody should
about.
be mentored. I want to know a little bit more information.
Yeah. I like that it's funded too, I guess, it's, more money for it too. Okay, so we'll bring that back.
Yeah.
Are we done, Mr.?
We're done, Mr. McGuigan.
It wasn't me, so
I know, right? First time ever.
usually me.
Right, I know. Usually I'm like, no, if it's on the agenda,
Right,
forget it.
Thanks for sharing that.
Back to the committee reports then.
All right.
Don't have anything to report, does anybody else?
Yes.
You gonna do facility stuff?
Yes, I got facility
I
stuff.
have a question for the board about policy committee.
Okay, we'll get to that. Shane, go ahead.
All right. I have two proposals you guys have been passed around on the doors that will be put in the gymnasium. You have TML Mechanical. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. Sorry, my bad. You have All Door and Lock, which is on one side, and they're requesting about $4,200 to $4,600 per door. So you're looking at $9,800 for 2 doors, which is unbelievable. And then on the other page, you have Northeast Door Corporation, and you have $5,000, $4,986.20 to be exact, for 2 doors. So you're looking at $2,500 a piece for those 2 doors to be installed. My recommendation is to go with Northeast Door Corporation. So I'm going to put it into a motion, and then we can have some discussion. A motion to approve up to $4,986.20 for Northeast Door Corporation to install the 2-stage entrance doors.
These are those
Second.
doors that we saw the pictures of several months ago that,
That was the proposal then. I think these are.
this is something
These are real
different.
doors,
These are real.
They're real.
doors.
not the metal.
That's what I was
Yeah,
picturing.
they're not the metal
that.
movable doors. This was the alternative. We considered the movable doors.
Yeah.
And then you guys weren't happy with that, so we went out
Right.
to bid and had door companies actually come in to talk about
That's what
building
this
a structure of a door
The
that would
real
be more
door that
permanent.
closes and locks. I see.
So why aren't we using the regular birch doors that we have throughout the school? I mean, we don't need a steel door in a K-8 school guarding our stage that I'm aware of. I'm just curious. I mean,
That's a
everywhere else
proposal
we
that
have-
came in. I mean,
Okay.
that's what they proposed that they could do with their company. We don't have other proposals for birch doors.
So anybody second that? So we
Yes.
can, because we already had discussion.
I did.
So even if these doors are put in, the stage is still open, right? Just to be clear.
In the front, yep.
And are these painted? Or are they just I mean, we just put in some steel doors down in Camp Yavna. We have to paint them. Are they gonna be, these gonna be
I
painted?
don't know if it, I don't have that question.
Any further discussion? Think about it for a minute. All right.
So I did some research on this today, and these doors do cost that much. I understand what Tim's saying, you could probably get a cheaper door just to put there, but this is like a real steel gate door.
So are they going to remove the railing? And
Yeah, that,
Is that part of the?
I don't know exactly what they're gonna do for construction, they didn't detail that, but they said they could put in 2 doors there. And I'm sure if they have to remove a railing and put a railing in, and
16 gauge steel flush doors. I mean, it's not a bank vault. I mean, this seems a little excessive, or is it just me?
18 gauge is not that thick, so, think about, a gauge of jewelry, 18 gauge necklace, your gauge, that gauge right there is probably 24,
I couldn't
Right.
say.
so,
You're talking about carats and how much gold there is.
I was talking about the gauge of the,
yeah,
The gauge of the chain.
that's right.
yeah.
Plus the one concern that we talked to one of the representatives about with wooden doors was it's a gymnasium, and then you have balls and equipment and all kinds of stuff flying at those doors. You have kids running up in those areas. So one of the concerns with wooden doors could be the damage to the doors based on the use of that facility.
So, any other discussion?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
So we don't have an answer on, I'm sorry, I'm opposed. You just haven't brought enough information to it. I just, who's gonna paint it, who's, it's.
Bree, I'm sorry, I didn't get your vote.
No.
Okay. Does not pass 2-2.
So just an update, Road 1 paving will be here June 23rd and 24th to go ahead and start working. The town approved the 3,700. So they'll pay their portion of it for the, in front of the fire department. What was the other? I had my notes right here. Charlie's tractor. Charlie will be picking that up next week to bring and start working on it. So that is all set. And I don't recommend the cabinets because we only got one proposal for it, so we can't vote on it. So, and my last thing is, you also got around, and this is for the, what's it called, the capital reserve fund that we're trying to set up. But TML Mechanical came up with another cost. So the three parts that we've had over the last couple of meetings, this is the third part to totally finish the cafeteria to the way we want it. So this is just additional $4,000 to do the drop ceiling. So when we do our capital reserve fund improvement plan, we'll have that available to use. And that's all I have.
Thanks. Any other subcommittees meet? Let's talk about policy subcommittee. You had a question about the policy subcommittee?
All right, so I wasn't at the last meeting, and you voted to have Barrett review the policy manual? So does it make any sense for me to have policy committees in the interim?
Yes.
And what would you like us to work on?
There are still going to be policies that we haven't looked at in a long time that need to be reaffirmed. I don't think Barrett's going to be going through and doing that for us.
Oh, no, he does. He goes through the whole policy manual.
Yeah.
And then he tells you what policies you need to update. And he gives you a list of those.
Yep.
It doesn't make incredible sense. While he's doing that, did he give us a timeline on how long it's going to take?
I don't remember if he gave a timeline on that. You said he was going to start it soon.
Right.
No, I thought you mentioned it.
What?
He was taking vacations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just,
So-
it doesn't, I mean, I guess I'll work with Barrett.
I forget when you take a break, you can mention.
And I don't know what we'll do in policy committee. Either
We
we'll have
can talk to Barbie about it too.
Right, right.
I mean, I think
We were only worried about the time frame of billing, and I see the bills in the manifest and, getting it started so we're legal to get it into this year's money, but I don't think we asked, or I failed to ask, what kind of a time frame. Do you remember, were you on board when they did Nottingham? Is this like a?
No, I came on board when they finished. I used his report from Nottingham
Is this, do you
to
have any idea,
redo.
is this a month process, a 2 month, a year?
No, I think I'm just writing down that I'm gonna call him tomorrow.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious. 8 to 10 weeks, so I guess somebody did ask him. Thank you, Ginger.
We can still proceed. 30 minutes.
Well, I'm getting old, I forget.
So I will call him and
So
maybe he
I
has.
kind of agree where if it's going to be 8, 10 weeks.
If it's gonna be 8 to 10 weeks,
be
that's
done by the
fine.
end of
If it's
the-
gonna be
end
2
of
to
summer.
3, it just seems like
Right.
double duty. But what I'll do is I'll call Barrett and see if he started it. And if he started, we can just take the ones he started with and push him through.
Okay.
That's
All
all.
right.
I talked to him enough, right? Too much.
sounds fair.
All right.
All right, I have another committee
Yes.
question, and I don't know if we can push it to July, and we can, that's fine. The athletic committee did meet and hired, has a recommendation for nomination for the athletic director.
Okay.
No
Would-
paperwork yet.
No,
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 Didn't need-
that's be
no.
July.
Yes.
Okay.
If there's no paperwork, then I can create no record for HR. There's
Okay.
got to be paperwork.
I just know if it had to be before June 30th.
It does not.
Okay, that's my question. We're good.
So we'll look forward to that whenever it becomes available, no rush.
Yeah, that'll be Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll put it on the next agenda.
Yep.
All right, we have no new business scheduled. Old business, we had our presentations from the food services companies last week, and it is time to make a decision on that. So I believe our choices are to do nothing and stay with the food services, the in-house food services we have, or to choose one of the two companies, one of which, what was it? I forget their names.
Just Fresh Picks, and there's the Abbey Group. most
Fresh Picks and
likely.
Abbey Group.
Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yes. Fresh Picks went first, and then Abbey Group.
So I make a motion that we go with Fresh Picks so that we can start discussion, because I have some discussion.
Second.
Good.
So I just want to address what we received earlier and see, I believe we're all on the same page as far as the board, but I just want to double check. So it's my understanding that an additional part-time employee will be needed under that number 2. A, to process all free and reduced applications through the year. I think that is on us to do it. And it wasn't very many hours a week. It was a very marginal job.
But that was for the Abbey Group only,
No,
not for the
no, I
Fresh
think it's
Picks,
for
or
both.
it was for both?
Neither one of them can legally do that.
Right.
They can't access the
We
information.
have to do it.
Okay.
You know, there's just laws out there that we have to follow, and that's one of them. Negative balance, lunch accounts, notifying parents, and collecting. I believe that, if I remember right, collecting is us, negative balance, they inform. Does anybody remember anything different than what I remember?
Remember them, they use the same system, at least, that we're currently
Yes, they
using.
use the same
so
system.
It would,
Yep.
one would think it would work the same way.
But I think, as I recall, they notify the parents, but the collection will be pretty much the same as we're doing now. We haven't had, is my understanding, we don't have a balanced budget at all, do we? Compared to what we had in a year. I mean, at one point, it was like $4,000.
Right, yeah, we don't let it get that bad anymore.
Okay, so, and do you have any clue of where it is now?
I'd say it's probably less than $500,000.
I would hope so. My gosh.
I'd
Wow,
say it's
what
less than $500. I don't even
lunches.
think it's close to that.
Could you just email us and let us know? Sure. Please. All of the state and federal required reports, my understanding is they do those 100%. That we don't have to do those. And that monitoring the free food commodities from the government, that again is totally up to them. Does that remember what you guys remember?
I don't remember exactly, but.
Okay, I mean, those are good questions, and that's what I remember. It is my understanding, I don't forget what the bottom, was it $3,700 and some change?
Something along those lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what they pull in for revenue. It absolutely doesn't matter. If they pull in 5 times as much or half as much, it just doesn't matter. The worst that it can cost us is that $3,700 and change, or whatever it is, whatever that figure was. And that's for 5 years. Now, I've been on the board some time, and I remember when we were costing at $70,000, $60,000 and $70,000, we were kicking into the, Marjorie's shaking her head. It was that bad. Okay, we've got it down to last year, I think it was 33 or 36,000, somewhere in the 30s. You know, it was around that. I don't know what it's going to be this year. But the worst this could cost us is the 37 and change plus a very part-timer, and I'm thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 or 7 or 8 hours a week. I did not see, as in our discussion, that to process all free and reduced applications throughout the year could possibly cost us even $8 an hour. Am I wrong? Do you know anything about that?
That I don't know.
I mean, there's not that many. I mean, you know, even if we had 100 free and reduced lunches, I mean, it's going to take some time early and probably late, but not much in the middle. I can't see where that would cost us $10,000. I can't even imagine how that would cost us $10,000.
But even if it did cost us $10,000, the total cost would be
Still a savings
$13,700.
compared to what we've been doing.
Right.
So, I mean, that's where I am. I've looked at her questions, I've read them through a couple of times. It simply doesn't matter what the revenue is. That's their problem, not ours.
Well, we asked them that
Yes,
point
and
blank.
they absolutely feel, I mean, we're going to get And we asked that numerous times. We're going to get a contract that says the worst situation is 37 or whatever it is, that number that was given to us. That's the worst situation. And if they fall flat on their face, that's their problem, not ours. If they do a whole lot better and there's more revenue, then we could pay less than 37. So we could pay less, we can't pay more. I'm done.
That was my understanding as well. Yep.
I would certainly ask, if we approve this, that Dr. Zagopsy double check that. But my understanding is this is going to cost us at the very most $3,700 plus a very part-time employee.
Any other discussion on that? Okay, you good? Nope, I'm good. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? 4-0.
Fresh pick.
Note that. And
Fresh picks.
fresh picks, yeah. Food service director request.
Yep, page 75 with an addendum.
Did you cipher inside?
I'm sorry, what?
I wondered if you figured out what that was. You're always ciphering ahead of time, so.
This did come up before, and we put it off till now, till we had made a decision, and now we made a decision. So, Marjorie, how much accumulated sick leave are we looking at? You know?
I didn't bring that with me. I'm sorry. The most it would be, if it was the 55, would be $4,950. With FICA in New Hampshire retirement, it would be a total of $5,881.
I certainly don't mind doing something. I know that we did something with many others that have left us. We did something for Mrs. Daypray as she's leaving. This lady does not belong to the union. There is a cost to belonging to the union, and there's a benefit to belonging to a union. She does not belong to that union, and so she hasn't borne that cost that would protect her as it does protect the other people. What?
She's not allowed to be in the union.
Well, I know that.
Okay,
I know
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But because she's management, she gets a higher rate of pay. There's a give and take to all of it. So, I mean, I would be more in favor of half that, $45 a day, for whatever she has remaining. I don't have a problem with that, but I personally am not going to agree to all of it. That's something that if she wanted in her contract or whatever, she should have negotiated. Not contract, but her job, I guess. So, that's my feeling.
Anyone else have an opinion on this?
I'm just curious what the historical precedent has been for non-union employees.
What I recall is half.
Half?
Yeah, I think that's...
Scott, is that?
It hasn't come up very often.
Mr. Janibar has way more history in the district than I do. I mean, that's a compliment. In 3 years, I've seen us do this twice.
Yeah, maybe twice.
For building administration.
And it's been half or full?
It hasn't been the full amount.
Has been full
I think sometimes for vacation it has been.
Sometimes the vacation comes into play. Her position unfortunately does not have vacation, so she doesn't even have that to negotiate, so.
I mean,
I mean,
the
she does
position
quote
is
what-
X, and she accepted that. And now she wants Y, and
She wants-
I understand, there's nothing wrong with asking, and I
What I can do, Ms. Gunter, is if you give me a minute, I can tell you that, you know what the paras get, right? Because it's in the letter, right?
What the teachers get.
So I'm grasping
Teachers get-
this, so we actually paid for
$4,950.
these sick days. I mean,
They
we
get
we
the same.
budgeted for these sick days. So, correct? These 6 days are on our books,
No,
right?
Not really.
Can I answer the first question first? And
No,
just
you-
please,
it's way too long.
Please, yeah, cut it out. It's the same for the teachers.
Contentious.
It's the same for the teachers, right? The buyout?
Well, I'm questioning it now. I know that's what it is for the teachers. I'm questioning if
So-
it's if that's the way for the paras.
Teachers,
know
it's-
that's what's in the
it's,
teachers. It's
It's
the
a lot
9.
more than 55 days, or whatever it is.
No,
I've never heard of
For teachers?
buyouts
it's
for
it's
sick
not, it's
days.
$90 a day for 55.
I've heard of it for
No.
vacation days.
Other two members.
Yeah, I thought we did
The
that.
other two members of the team.
Who has nobody has a teacher contract here?
What she's saying.
Yeah.
Teachers.
I've got one right here, I'm trying to look it up,
Do you want me to find it?
please. And then I'll move on to Mr.
Do you wanna
Wells'
look at the
question.
Well, you actually, you can skip that question. I got another question. So, it says here in a letter, it says, offered to the other two members of my team. Were those, what were those two
Well,
members?
if you look in there, it also
That's
says they
their
were
union
members of the
benefit.
Who- They were the
paraprofessional.
union people.
Union
They were the
benefits,
union.
yes.
Yep. Those were in those two were in the paraprofessionals union.
If she was and she's not, but as a union member, for instance, a few years ago, we were so pleased, and still are pleased, that has nothing to do with this young lady, that we gave her an extra raise. You know, and that's something that as a union member, I can't do. We can't do. You know, it's just a different, whether you're union or non-union makes a big difference. And if you're non-union, you speak for yourself. If you're a union, you have somebody else speak for you. And she spoke for herself, and frankly, as I say, she got a pretty nice bump at one point.
Well, the way I see it when it comes to sick days, like you earn those sick days because that's part of your contract. She didn't expect not to be, I mean, if she probably knew in November, December that she wouldn't be here the next year, she probably would have taken these sick days. Or she might have not, but those are her sick days. Cutting in half, I'm not agreeing with, at $90 a day, because she's not. I would want to probably go like $75 a day would be my recommendation. Or,
Do you want me to read what it says in the teachers' collective bargaining
Sure.
agreement? It really has to do with retirement, not severance. But upon retirement in at least 10 continuous years in the district, excluding authorized leaves, the teacher shall receive compensation equal to $90 a day for up to 55 days of accumulated sick leave.
That's if you have 10 years.
And upon retirement.
How many years does she have in?
She's
9 years.
what was that? Oh, how would all these
Is this a legal issue? I mean, or is this, there's no?
No.
No, it's just we gotta,
No.
it's coming to an agreement with her. Right? She's asking.
It's a request.
Right, she's asking for,
But I'm saying there's no legal precedent that says it has to be 9 days, or it has
Well,
to be
it's-
half, or
it's
it
not
could
a-
be anything in between. It can be anything that we choose, basically.
It's not a legal issue. So in the collective bargaining agreements, you establish precedents, right? But for non-union employees or non-classified employees, an individual negotiate their agreements, there is no precedent setting in those agreements. My agreement is different from the state appraiser. I don't know, I haven't looked at them, but they can be different, and it's an individually negotiated contract.
I mean, I guess that's, my opinion is that we're treating her different from the others. I don't think there's any logical reason for that, in my opinion. I mean, if we can do this for union members, I don't see why we can't do it for a non-union member as well. But I'll go along with whatever you guys think is best.
I think I heard 2 different numbers already.
Three
so-
different numbers.
3 different numbers, great. I'm not sure where we're at as far as
Well, did you-
motions.
We don't have
Did
any
you make a
motion.
motion?
There's no motion yet. So I invite you to make a motion.
I make a motion to grant 55 days at $70 a day.
$70 a day?
$70 a day. Up to 55, right? Up to 55 days at $70 a day. which would be a total of $3,850.
At maximum. She may not have 55 sick days.
She might not
right?
have 55 days.
Oh, that's true.
I don't know how many she has. I'll second that for discussion purposes. What do you guys feel about that?
I already told you how I feel.
Yes.
So a seconded,
It's been, I seconded, yes. Let's wait to see if they have anything.
further discussion?
Can I have Marjorie participate in the discussion, just because there's some other information that you probably need to consider?
So I received a phone call from her today in anticipation of the board possibly making a decision tonight. She assumed that you guys were gonna outsource. Her contract is only 194 days. So she pretty much called today to let me know that she is done. She's actually worked those 194 days. However, her work in the cafeteria is not done. There are multiple reports that I kind of need to close out the books. I need such stuff as like inventory, US commodities. I need her to finish out the accounts receivable, who owes money, give me that list, because then we have to bill that from the SAU. She said she's got to close out the vending machine, petty cash, follow up on receipts, and she said that the kitchen needs some organizing. So she was calling to let me know that and to see if possibly we could get her in, pay her daily, to do whatever it takes to get the job done before the end of the close of the year. Speaking for myself, those are 3 or 4 reports that I need to close out the financials for our auditors. I need the inventory. We're not gonna have a petty cash anymore, so I need to get that from her. In the accounts receivable list. I mean, that's all stuff that has to be entered on the Northwood financial side. So I don't know how the board wants to move forward with that.
How many,
I literally found out at like 3:30 this evening, or this afternoon.
how many days do you anticipate? Yes. 5?
She didn't tell me. I would say max 5.
And what's gonna happen if she's not doing it? Who will do it?
If she can't get it done, I will make sure that somebody from my office will come up and get it done with her. That's the best I can do. I told her I won't even take nice reports on Excel, even if she has something handwritten. I'll take whatever I can get from her and create our own spreadsheets afterwards. I mean, I'll do what I can. But it just put us in a tough place this afternoon.
Yeah.
Well played.
Thank you.
It's another thing that came up at the end. However, I don't think it's fair to put that on Marjorie's back. I would certainly be willing to approve, let's say, 5 days, 6 hours a day. So that's 30 hours at whatever her pay is to get this done personally. You know, that's my personal opinion. I don't know what were we gonna do at the end of the school year. If we didn't go, then what is she gonna do? I just don't understand this stuff. I really don't.
Yeah.
Always at the end.
And I think you already have a motion on the floor that's dealing
Yeah, we
with
have
other. I just really thought that it was important that you knew.
Because technically, she could say, well, see,
Right.
thank you.
Well, I haven't thought that far ahead. I just thought you needed all the information. I mean, I haven't really. I'm trying not to think that way.
I mean, we could possibly tie together the two things as well, right? Saying that we'll give her a certain amount if she does X amount of work or something like that as well. I mean, that's.
Not like bribery.
No, that's a contingency.
So you're saying we could say approve the $70.55 if she finishes her job?
That's
With
what I was
5
thinking.
extra days per diem.
Or just finish her job, whatever it takes.
No, I'm thinking of just finish her job.
Right.
Yeah, I'd go for that in a heartbeat, just to get through it.
Right.
Yeah, if she comes in and finishes the job, we'll give her $70 a day for 55 days. I'll go along with that.
A second.
Well, we gotta.
See if you pull your other one back.
Sorry, no, sorry.
Now we may have potentially broken a law. I think you might have
I don't
issues.
know.
I don't
Upon
think you
completion
force
of your job,
No, I don't believe you
I
can
think
do that.
Why?
And I'm not totally sure, but I'm not feeling very comfortable with, I think if you were paying her per diem rate for the 5 days with the contingency that if she finished within that 5 days and it was complete, she would get the $70, she would get but I think you could do that.
The amount she requested.
No.
No, the amount we said.
Right.
Okay.
I think you could do that. I don't think you could say, we'll give you this lump money if you finish your job and basically work free for the next 5 days. I think you might have
Yeah, you can't dangle money.
a
Here it
time
is.
and wage complaint, you might have a labor board complaint there, I think.
So you're saying,
If the board, this is totally up to the board, but if the board decides, and Marjorie's made a recommendation that she would need 5 days at her per diem rate to wrap everything up and shut it down so Fresh Picks could take over, which is essentially what we're talking about, right? Not unreasonable. I think you could say, and if that's complete to Marjorie's satisfaction, we'll pay you this, that would be okay. I don't think you could
have her do the 5 days of work
and
without
give her the
paying her
buyout.
the
Right.
per diem.
I don't think, I think you might have a problem there. You might have a problem either way, and I'm gonna check it in the morning, so I'm gonna ask if you do make a motion to say contingent upon a legal check from Mr. Rooney. Tomorrow morning. It's gonna be a long day.
Good luck. I'm not in.
I know.
What would the 5 days be? What would be the cost
it's
of that,
160.
did you say?
I didn't. Her daily rate is $165.71.
I mean, that,
So
Pay
that
her
would be
per diem.
$828.
right, which is what we'd be paying her if she was here over the summer, probably. Right?
Correct.
Anyway,
Right.
She had
So
yeah.
it's no different than
Right.
what we're expecting, I guess, in a way. All right, so we have a motion for $70 a day. Do you want to
Amend it?
amend that to say upon what, how should we phrase this, in your opinion?
I think you need to
Upon
make
completion of her,
a motion to authorize 5 extra days at her per diem rate, right?
do that first. Right? We have a motion,
And
we have a
then-
motion right now.
You could do that first and get that over with.
I guess my question is, I do want to get that over with, but I
Want that to be
want to be contingent on
Right, but I
completion
think
of
we
5
can-
days. Right,
Well, she's asked for extra time, right?
yeah,
Right.
So I think if you had one motion that just gave her the 5 extra days
Mm-hmm.
and voted on that, and then if that passed, make another motion that you would pay her $70 a day times her sick time for a sick time buyout upon completion of those 5 days, you would have those tied together.
okay,
Where if you made one motion,
so, yeah,
it might be very,
So, Mr. Wells,
even more
would you-
confusing.
I retract my motion.
Thank you. You all set?
think
You
so.
follow the conversation? All right, so,
So now we're just doing a new motion.
new motion.
Okay. And who moves it?
No one's moved anything
Oh.
yet. So somebody like to make a motion to pay her a per diem rate, her per diem rate for 5 days to finish up all of the,
I just would like to throw out, do we need to finish this today? There's mumbling behind me that she has the RSA, that we can't do whatever we're doing. It seems like, and we knew about this a month ago, and now we're a month later, and there's all of these questions. So could we get all the questions answered, and then we'll make some motions?
like tonight, you mean?
No.
Or you want to wait and do it
Yeah.
next week, next meeting?
I want the questions answered, all the questions that we've been asking. You can certainly confer with Ginger Dole and see what RSA, whoever's wants to can call Ginger Dole and see what RSA she's saying, and let's get the answers and then make a decision. You know, if
I'm
you
not
need to
calling
convene a new school board meeting for 5 minutes, I'll be happy to come in.
You know what I mean? So, all right.
But, I mean, this needs to be done now, obviously, right?
It doesn't need to be done. You can authorize the 5 day and consider the other, no, because you don't have another board meeting.
Right.
You don't have another board meeting.
We could have a quick meeting, one, I don't know, we continually go into these things without the information.
All right, how does this sound? Can we have a special board meeting 15 minutes before the SAU board meeting
Sure.
on Monday night?
There you go.
Can you do that?
I can.
Can we get you there?
Wait, what? Monday?
15 Monday.
Monday.
Oh, yeah. So at 6 instead of 6:15?
Yeah, what time is the joint board?
6:15.
6:15
So 6 o'clock. We're going to post a 6 o'clock meeting.
at the SAU.
Yeah. And it'll be a special meeting, and the purpose will be,
Food service director,
yeah, I'll find a purpose.
something.
So the questions are, how many hours does she have, or how many days, or whatever?
You what?
And what's legal and what's not, as far as the two different motions we're considering.
Right, so how many sick
Sick
days
days
does she have?
Yep.
Maybe a better estimate of how long it's gonna take to finish up all the work as well.
How long, how many more days? Ms. Dayprick, can you get that answer? Because I know that Mrs. Whitmore isn't in. How many, can you find out from Viola how many days she needs?
Yeah.
All right. And then the other question is the legal question.
I can call her. I won't see her before Monday.
About tying the buyback to successful completion.
I can email her and Linda tonight and ask
All right.
both of them these questions.
All right.
And CC you, and hopefully.
And then I'll get in touch in the morning and get an opinion. And then, I'll pass it off to Dr. Godomsky
I
for
can do it tonight.
Monday night.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Everybody happy with that?
It sounds fine. I mean, legally, I don't think we have to do anything. So if we do something, I don't see how that could be illegal.
Oh, well,
We wanna
remember,
help her. How can
sometimes
that
no
be
good
illegal?
deed goes unpunished.
Well, that's true.
So,
I agree. All right, let's move on to the ARC lease, please.
all right. So you have an ARC lease in your packet, and Mrs. Osborne was on vacation, and we found an error today, so I brought a new one.
What was the error?
They did the same.
The non-profit clause. Everybody want it removed? Ooh.
So, what is different, what's added to this which wasn't
The
going on?
non-profit clause is taken out. That's the only difference.
I think that was the only issue we had with it.
That was the only issue you had with it.
There's a T on the first page after the date that I think needs to be taken off too.
You got that?
The other an H should be added.
Huh?
The other an H should be added. No, maybe not.
If it's the first though,
Yeah.
then.
Well, it depends when the lease goes. You gotta change that
Yeah,
when you're typing it.
yeah, that's fine. Do we need to, do you need a vote from us to approve
Yeah,
this?
you need to approve the.
And I assume Keith has to sign it.
I will have to sign it, yeah. I don't sign it today, I don't think.
Motion
so.
to have,
But he wouldn't sign it until it came back.
Right.
motion to have Keith sign the lease agreement between Northwood School and alternate route for kids minus the T.
Or with an addition of an S, depending. Or
Or an
an
H.
H. Or an H.
In a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Motion passes.
On page 79,
Pick one.
On page 79 to 88 is a draft RFP for strategic planning. You can, if you haven't reviewed that, we can put it on the next agenda for your approval. It's up to you.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at it.
So we'll move that to the next agenda.
Yeah, that's good.
And then letter 5, I have no accompanying information of a decision of facility committee final recommendation.
I think we've done that, actually.
You already did that?
Yep. So,
And then if you just review your parking lot items and timelines.
yep.
No.
Are you gonna Google it? Or what about
I
here?
don't think there's anything interesting in the parking lot items. at
doggy.
the moment.
Pet, it's gotta be about feet.
No, it's
Page
not.
89.
It has to do with teaching.
Timeline is start to set bus routes in June. Do you know if that's happening?
The method and practice.
With the time change and all, it might be a good idea to get a little start on that.
Just right second afterwards. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Coaching positions and club positions, will be coming next meeting.
You'll have your athletic director, but your coach's nominations won't come until after he's
Nominated.
No, okay,
nominated.
he has to do it,
They may
right,
come at
right.
the same.
Okay.
How did this get started, this strategic planning?
Calendar, you mean?
No, this draft for a strategic planning. I've heard a little bit in the school board meetings, but how did that get started?
Governor Gdanski brought in that example from the other school board that had contracted that process out.
Canterbury?
Yes.
Okay, and where is the money coming from? I realize we don't know what the cost is yet, but I'm just asking.
I think his intent was to get the cost.
Yeah, and this was, we asked them to come back with an RFP for it. So yeah, I think,
So we could find out how much it would be.
well, you might put it out and find out, for bid and find out what people could do. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you put any numbers in here? I don't think so.
Well, yeah, we're going to put the RFP out to get the numbers.
Right. Didn't know if we put any ranges in here or something I was looking for. Future agenda items, do we have anything beyond, let's see, I have, for our next meeting, I have the tech plan, our principal coach discussion, athletic director nomination, going over the RFP for strategic planning, and then, of course, we have our food director discussion on the Monday before the SAU joint board meeting. Is there anything else anyone would like to add to the agenda for the 7th, or later? Or the 20th, I'm sorry. The 7th, yeah. July 7th.
Nominations will be on there for personnel.
Yeah, personal, that's standard.
Yeah, that's, yeah, don't worry about that so much.
So, I'm going through the responsibilities through the months.
Yes.
When, I know we got budget preparation in November and December. In October begin budget preparation? Is October usually the timeframe? Is that?
Has to be. So here's what happens. So it's a bottom-up process, right? So the budget request, we start school in August, right? The budget process for the teachers in the building starts in September, in October. And so, once that's done, we need to go through draft, the school boards need to go through, and, I mean, that's how long it takes.
I know,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, because it takes that, and we always say, we always should look at the budget, we always look at the budget. Shouldn't we start that earlier?
Well, you can, but here, I'll give you like a personal challenge when we start too early, right? My special education placements are just starting to settle out in August and September, and people want to start planning for the following year.
And you plan and it doesn't work.
So it creates a tremendous challenge to try to figure out, I don't know what the student needs are within the building. I don't know what the staffing needs are within the building yet, because we haven't gotten through that honeymoon period, that first 6 or 8 weeks of school. So to start it earlier, I mean, it's already a weather forecast about a year out. To start it earlier, plus you're coordinating with 2 other towns, right? And one's an SB2 or SB2 towns, and one is a town meeting town. So they have different, so we have to get everything coordinated so it lines up, so we make sure that you have us here when you need us, and Nottingham has us there when they need us, in Stratford. And to get the budgets done in a time, you can't start too early and you can't start too late. I mean, you could certainly do something like start setting school board priorities and what they think the budget should, you could have that discussion in August and September, but to go any earlier or any later, it's sort of tough to do because of different reasons.
And we also have to wait for the staff to return, because
Right.
at that point, when they walk in the building, as they're going through their classroom, they can start assessing what they have that year, and then they can start thinking forward about what they're gonna need for the following year. So it's kind of like, we have to wait for them. They typically get a memo from the principal first, second week that they return. They're typically due back to the principal by the end of September for them to enter everything into our accounting software. And then we don't even get the do not exceed figures from GSM&R until end of October, beginning of November, I think it is. And then you're waiting for the Co-Brown tuition thing. They're fine.
And I understand those are constants, so, and they're not gonna vary much, but like the things that we're talking about, the technology and
Right.
all that, that should be a summer-long program. Some, committees and forecasting for future budget issues. I just don't see that in July. It seems like July and August are kind of like, okay, we're just gonna kind of go through the motions and not really think about what we need to start planning for.
Well, I can hear that, but I also think that, look, in your first meeting in July, you're gonna have Steve come in and give a tech update, and that's gonna give him some guidance for budget planning, and
I'm just trying to think what else could be in July and August meetings that we're gonna, so we don't have that, hey, we need $35,000, so is that's gonna be committee driven, correct?
well, it's gonna be processed, and then not necessarily a committee, but it's not gonna be an individual process.
Yes.
Right?
We may have food service discussions then.
I mean, you're gonna have to have food service discussions, you're gonna be doing, I believe hiring is big in July and August.
I think what you're saying is doing strategic planning, that's something we should be doing all the
Right.
time. And I agree with you.
Email.
I mean, that should be continuous, right? It's some of the strategic.
It just seems like
planning ideas.
we're missing something here. We're just going through the motions and we're missing something. We're always missing something.
But I think to support what Chairman McGuigan's saying, a strategic plan would help everybody with that.
All right, let's move on. If you do come up with something solid you want to put on the agenda, let me know, we'll get it on there for next meeting. From anybody. I was looking at him, but I meant for you guys too. If anything comes up that you want on the agenda, let us know in between. I think we should need to have it set a week before, so that we can get stuff on there.
Are you bringing up the Barrett Christina letter, which I seem to have lost?
I got a copy if you want. Want another one?
No, I mean, no, I just was hoping somebody would decipher it. I mean, it's a page and a half and says nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely
You
nothing.
didn't.
It is so lawyer speak, it is sad. What did I do with mine? You can't have that, you gave it to me.
You keep it, so
I
I
am.
can't read it anyway.
I just,
No, it was not.
I'll give it.
I mean, that's 2 pages of answering nothing.
Did you say you misplaced it, Tim?
I lost mine somewhere.
You want another one?
Yeah,
I think I lost mine.
I gotta find one.
otherwise they're gonna make copies of this one.
They've all disappeared. I can't remember mine either. There it is.
I had it in the board handout.
Yeah, I know. But
Maybe you put it in the manifest.
I bet it's in the manifest.
There you go.
He didn't actually, he gave us this,
we have another extra.
It's an email That's
give us
it.
a
Yeah,
I gave him mine.
I saw, I had it, I'm like, it's, whatever's happened to it, it's my fault. I know I had it.
Well, can we do it or we can't do it? And I don't get that from
It didn't, he didn't
No, I
answer the
don't.
question.
It didn't answer
Yeah.
anything.
It's lawyers. It just, whoever paid him the most money, he'll argue either side of the case. He doesn't care.
I'll go back.
He'll
What was
argue
the
for
original?
or he'll argue
What
against.
was the original question?
The question
Line
was,
items.
can we spend out of line
The
items?
line items that
As
say
long as
zero.
there's money in the function.
I have the answers from.
Is that what that whole email means? Couldn't he have just said that?
Yeah, pretty much. But he doesn't want to give you legal advice.
But it can't be.
But here's the funny part is,
If it's-
I think I've said that before. People don't believe me, so we get this.
Tim, I'm looking for it. Give a copy to Ginger. So
I'm
he can
looking
vote on
for
it,
it.
yeah.
in the next budget meeting.
Oh, and the manifest?
Yes.
Betsy, have a copy.
Oh,
I
good.
gave him a copy.
Was it?
Well, he can't have that because I gave him mine.
Oh, for crying
I
out
didn't know
loud.
you gave me yours.
She could finish by
I
next
can't
week.
read it anyway. It doesn't.
Okay, future meetings, we have our joint board meeting on Monday at 6:15. We have a special school board meeting right
Six.
before that at 6 o'clock on June 20th. July 7th is our next regular board meeting, followed by a regular board meeting on July 21st, August 4th, and August 18th. And a joint board meeting on August 22nd at the SAU office.
Our next joint board meeting is not till August 22nd.
After the one.
After Monday.
Correct.
Yes, we canceled the July.
Oh, right.
And there is,
After like half-hour discussion during it.
Wendy has a question.
go ahead.
You got something to say?
I was just gonna say that I know that I will not be there Monday night unless something changes, and then I will be covering the meeting Monday night.
Okay.
So.
I have the answers to the two questions you asked from Viola Canella.
Okay.
She says she can finish by the end
I
of
was gonna
next
give
week
those two,
because she's
but they're
packing
not.
the whole office and closing lunch accounts. Could be less, but she definitely would be done by the end of next week. And as far as sick days, she has accumulated 102.5.
I was gonna say, I know she's,
So she's maxed
for
out.
9 years,
Maxing
and
out
for
at
the
55.
6 or 7 I've worked with her, she's,
Never missed a day.
that cafeteria staff, I gotta tell you, they don't even use their personal days. They turn them back every year. I mean, that's how dedicated they are down there, so.
Closing public comment.
I'm sorry, but then I'm gonna have to leave because they're gonna call the police on me.
All right, here.
You're not on duty. Sorry, you're not on duty.
You're always on duty.
Okay, Ginger Joel, obviously I have some very strong feelings about the conversation that's been taking place regarding the food service supervisor and request for payment of her accrued sick time. This is a person who has worked here for 9+ years, whom you have just pulled the rug out of definitively now because you've made a vote earlier tonight to go with outsourcing the program. Until now, there was a slight possibility that you might decide to keep the same program and she would continue to have a job. Now she knows she doesn't have a job, or she will when she hears about this meeting. The figures that I heard tonight, and let me know, Marjorie, if these are, I had $5,800 in change for the full $90 per day versus $3,850 for $70 a day. You have a $529,000 potential surplus, folks. You're arguing over $5,000 or $6,000 to pay for sick time that has not been used in over 9 years for someone who just was confirmed she's not going to have a job in 2 weeks. I'm ashamed of you. That I can't believe you spent the amount of time discussing this that you did. Please do the right thing and vote to give her full sick time at the full $90 a day. Show that much respect to this person that you've just let go. Thank you.
I was wondering if I could just get clarification. It was a little hard to hear. At the beginning, when you were talking about policies, you were talking about releasing name, salary, and addresses, which obviously in the town report, our name and salary is there. But Were we understanding that addresses will now be publicly released? Or could, or if requested? Okay.
But if somebody, and it's not now, it's been since 1974. And I certainly saw everybody's apprehension, especially Mrs. Wimsatt's, like, what? So, and mine, too, because I don't like it either. And actually, to tell you the truth, in the previous policy session, although I wasn't here, it was Mr. Jandabar who brought up that part of the policy made him very uncomfortable, I believe.
Yes.
All right? So this isn't a board doing this. This is what the state law and the state policy, the recommended policy says.
Okay, we just weren't sure if it was
And so-
yay or nay.
No, I just want
on
to explain.
that.
I don't want to make it a situation of the teachers against the administration or the board, because it's not, because all of us are uncomfortable
Right.
about the fact that the Timberland case back in the 70s made this a legally, it is legal for people to request that under the right to know law.
Okay.
And believe me, in the confines of my office, and I'm not sure who said it to me, was, so what happens if we release addresses and something bad happens, right? I said, well, we can't be held responsible for it, and it's unfortunate, but this is what the law requires us to do.
Okay.
I don't know how to adjust or change that. I don't like it either, and I don't think anybody on this board likes it.
Right.
But we've got to follow what this
Sure.
right to know
Yeah.
law is. So
Okay.
I apologize.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to address the math program. I believe it was a year and a half ago that the 7th and 8th grade math teacher was
sorry.
asking for a program.
Could you identify yourself?
Kathy Wimsatt, teacher and town.
Thanks.
So a 7th and 8th grade teacher requested a program. She was told by this school board, well, the school board here, a year and a half ago, that we needed to have a K through 8 program. The teachers in our school, K through 6, were comfortable with the program we had, but we were forced by the board to choose a math program that would go K through 8. We had 2 choices. Both choices had heavy digital components to them. We were told to choose one. They started it with the 7th and 8th grade this year, which every student does have their own netbook. So it did not come up as an issue until, due to the default budget, we instantly got the math program delivered to us day of a workshop, Memorial Day weekend, just weeks ago, when we had our workshop. That morning we received our teacher's editions, and we had the workshop. During that workshop, it was all run by computer. We kept asking the presenter what there was in the books, and she kept bringing us back to the computer. Yes, it can be run by the book, she told us, but all this differentiation that you could do, students could go here if they needed it, go there for support. All she could tell us was if you just have a smart board, you can teach whole class, keep the whole class together, but you would not be able to meet the students' needs. That brought on our concern about us not having the technology that we would need to fully use the program. That was Memorial Day weekend, and Ms. Cronin came to you the immediate following school board mentioning the need for technology. So I don't think there was any desire for us to jump into wanting money. We wanted our original program. We did not want to even bring this forward. It was pushed on us.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other board members like to have a period of public comment? Okay, we will move on then and close public comment for now. Do we require a closing non-public session? Good. And there's a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.